coming on now. You officially have quorum. I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tanika. So we have Vice Chair Lavelle present, Director Powell present, Director Williamson present, and Treasurer Innamorato may be joining us later, but we can go ahead and get started. First order of business is approval of the June 9th, 2022 regular URA board meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Great. The motion carries. I would also want to note that the board met in executive session to discuss personnel and legal matters on June 14th, the 16th, and July 13th. And then the board was also briefed by staff on July 11th on today's agenda. This briefing was for informational purposes only. With that, we'll move into public comment. I know we have a few folks registered. I believe the first speaker is Khadijah Harris.
Hey, Kyle, Khadijah is not yet online. That said, Eric Vainstendale, I apologize if I mispronounced your last name, Eric. You have the floor for 3 minutes. I'll let you know when you're about 30 seconds away from your 3-minute limit.
Thank you.
You can start.
All right, great. Yeah, no worries. For the record, it's Eric Van Istendale. I'm speaking here as myself and a member of the public. And I wanted to comment today on the Section 7 and Section 8 of today's board kind of votes. My main concern here about the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund and the Redevelopment Capital Assistance Program grants and processes is about ownership and control. Just to start with Section 7, I would recommend that all community orgs, try to apply for these grants. Full disclosure, I did apply for one on behalf of one organization. The program facilitator shared that there was a $3.1 million ask for 41 applicants. The regulations do say that there is great amount of flexibility with where additional funds can come from. I do want it to be said that 600,000 was told that was the total possible to be allocated. Only 7 out of what the regulation said was maybe up to 10 applicants were awarded. That dollar amount was not $600,000 total. It was $527,345. So please, I would recommend that the commissioners encourage the URA staff to go back and revisit some other applicants, even just increasing the number to the 7 that were already approved. Section 8, the RCAP grant, $31.1 million in total this year being discussed. I think that the URA should look on the hard work by various community representatives in the Hill District. Please listen to Carl Redwood. Please listen to Felicity Williams. The first start, which was voted on by the prior board, May 26th and June 10th, special meetings. The first start, I think, towards equitable community development. And make no mistake, the work is not done. Was done in the lower Hill District by all manner of Hill District groups and individuals. My last thing I got to say is that the $2.8 million shortfall between the requested $3.1 million and hell, it doesn't really matter. Less than 10% of the $30 million RCAP total would actually fully fund upfront. I believe this would be possible. Every single Neighborhood Initiatives Fund ask that was made for this year's award. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Next up is Khadijah Harris. I've got to find you real quick, and then you will be.
Daniel, while you do that, I just want the record to reflect that Representative Innamorato has joined us.
Thank you.
Just missed you.
Khadijah, you have the floor for 3 minutes, and your time begins now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Khadija Harris, and I'm actually a resident of the Homewood community. I'm actually born and raised there. And as I'm talking, this gets a little bit difficult for me, so bear with me. After pretty much growing up and being raised in Homewood and developing through Homewood and noticing, actually going through the schools in the Homewood, Belmore, Reisenstein, and Westinghouse, and actually going off to college and coming back to the community that I grew up in, and I see all the devastation, it's been really, really hard for me. I've actually moved back into the community that I grew up last year to come back and try to help wherever I can. And the reason why I'm here today is to talk about the Avenues of Hope program. I actually had went to a meeting in October of last year, right there on Rosedale and Hill Avenue. And the URA sent out 2 lovely young ladies to talk to the group about the Avenues of Hope program. And I was really excited about the program. They had explained that former Mayor Peduto, had allocated $25 million to the Black community out of the stimulus fund because he thought that it was not fair that there wasn't a Black wealthy community here in Pittsburgh. So when they were explaining that this money would be targeted to Black businesses, Black communities, as well as Black entrepreneurs, I was really excited because this is what our communities need. So I immediately started building relationships with the URA and asked a bunch of questions to understand what we needed to do to get access, to those resources. And I also started educating the community about the things that were going on and the avenues of hope. So people were really excited,
We've got about 1 minute left.
When you think about the Black communities and the needs of the Black communities, I thought, $25 million wasn't a whole lot, but I thought it was a great start. And it said a lot about Pittsburgh. But then I actually got an email last week saying that the Avenues of Hope was totally changed. All the language changed in it. It no longer said Black for entrepreneurs, Black businesses. It went to minority. It is, as well as it changed from 25 million to 5 million. So I'm here to ask, what happened? Why did the language change for us at Avenues of Hope? Because those resources are deeply needed in the Black and vulnerable communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Khadija. Greg, to the specific in terms of the language changing, I don't know if there's anyone, you or anyone on staff would be able to sort of address that or follow up with Khadija. On the broader sort of ARPA allocations, Khadija, I know Councilman Lavelle can speak to this because he had to sit through a 3-hour meeting about it on Wednesday in terms of some reallocations of funds that were happening. And I think it may be maybe just a difference of sort of naming and where the monies are coming from, rather than, it certainly is not a lack of commitment or the monies that are becoming over in total to allow us to invest more, in historically Black neighborhoods across the city. But I would look to staff to answer the specific question as it relates to the broader thing. And Councilman, from the conversation on Wednesday, I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Only that there's not a change in the amount of funding, but rather it's more detailed in terms of this specific line items, which obviously I don't have in front of me at this moment. But and that was in part due to the regulations that came out from the federal government on how we have to actually report the ARPA money. We have to provide more specificity than simply saying Avenues of Hope. We have to be more detailed and say this is going to go for storefronts, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why those changes were made at council on Wednesday, to be more detailed and more specific.
Yeah, this is Greg. So in terms of the language, I do remember a conversation about this generally to try to broaden it to other disadvantaged business owners and property developers. I'm not exactly sure of the language. I was wondering if maybe David Geiger or Nathan might be able to weigh in on this, but I do recall that we did broaden the language at some point, thinking it may have been too restrictive, but that's really all I have right now, unless we have a chance to maybe research that and get back to you.
Not sure if I can speak to the specific language change, but if you could forward the email that you received that has the language change, I'd love a chance to take a look at that and review it and work with staff to see why changes were made in the language.
TJ, do you need our email addresses?
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me, but yes, please.
Mine is, mine's
Go ahead,
D Geiger, DGEIGER @URA.org. And if you forward that email over to me, I'd be happy to take a look at it.
Thank you.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Our last public commenter, Green Ward. Green, if you are on the call using a different username, I'm going to enable the hand raising function very quickly. You could raise your hand if you're in the meeting. If not, we've exhausted our public comment list.
Do you see her, Daniel?
I do not.
You see them? Okay.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, we're all through.
Okay. We'll move on to announcements.
Sure, I can take the first one here, Chairman. My name is Evan Miller. I'm the Acting Director of Housing Lending here at the URA, and I wanted to make a quick announcement for the board and public that's watching that the 2021 Housing Opportunity Fund Annual Report has been released. We released it earlier this month, and it's accessible through the URA's website. We've asked our advisory board to distribute it through their networks. The report is a combination of information on just what the Housing Opportunity Fund does, how it came to exist overall. We've got a lot of infographics and data tables that show exactly what we did in 2021. And then also a lot of success stories and quotes from partners and those in the community to help to explain what the impact of the Housing Opportunity Fund has been and continues to be. So we're really excited about the report. I want to thank all the URA staff that was involved with this, from the housing department as well as our communications department, and especially to Jad Burns, who is the HOF community outreach coordinator, who joined us in late spring, and we really got this out at like a record pace, and I think it's our best one yet. So we're really excited about it, and hope that those who are interested in our work can read it and find out more about the great work that we're doing. So thanks for your time today. If there are any questions, I can answer them, but otherwise the report is available on our website. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Are there any highlights from the report you want to kind of call out for the public's awareness who may not have seen it?
Yeah, I mean, so we've in 2021, it was the first year that our legal assistance program was up and operating, which provided a number of free housing and legal services to tenants and homeowners. And we helped about 180 households in that year. And so, or in the year 2021, and we expect to do even more in 2022. So I think that's a highlight. And then also some interesting content about the 5 Points Project, which is up in Observatory Hill, and the kind of combination of mixed use neighborhood business district revitalization. We've got apartments, affordable apartments over affordable commercial space, and what used to be just vacant buildings. So we're really excited about that project, and I would encourage anyone to read more about it in the report.
Thanks, Evan. Any questions or comments from the board? Nope. Okay. Then I guess moving on. So just to give folks an overview of today's agenda, what we'll be covering, there's a little bit of discussion of it today. But the first item will be under Avenues of Hope. And I believe Zainab and Paul will be joining us for this.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Zainab Al-Kafaj. I'm project engineer working with the Quality Control Inspection Unit. Authorization is a request to enter into a contract with a marine contracting INC, not to exceed $524,150 for MOKA retaining wall construction work. Next slide, please. The project involved the mobilization and demobilization for site, the installation of soldier pile and lagging retaining wall, site clearing, existing curb protection and concrete, fence installation, maintenance, and removal of erosion and sediment control devices. I want to add the purpose from this project. We have wall was collapsed last December, and we have 2 unsafe properties in front of the hillside, and the hillside is sliding. So we need to start this project as soon as possible. The target construction schedule is August 2022 to November or December 2022. The project financing include Washington Landing and ARPA funding. That's for all for the project. Thanks for all. Are there any questions? Sorry, because this is first time for me with board meeting.
You did a great job. Thank you.
I did many interviews, but this is the hardest one.
No, you did just fine. No questions, just a comment. This is also a protection of an investment that the URA has previously made actually into MOKA Art Gallery. And I have actually seen the sites, and it is in need of repair immediately. Yeah. So thank you for moving this forward.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for all.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I know, Paul, you're on as well. If folks have any other questions, or Paul, if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, thank you to the board and everyone who worked on this and their patience with this. This is one of the things that came up unexpectedly, and one of the, kind of problems that we deal with at the URA when we get, an unexpected, in this case, unexpected failure of a wall. We get different catastrophes and things that happen, or, and I thank the homeowners there for their patience in the process to get this thing designed and permitted and financed and ready for construction. Looking forward to this, and this is part of the, this was the, part of the Avenues of Hope is the MOKA Gallery, and then some of the clearing of those lots and turning over those empty lots that aren't buildable to MOKA to beautify with art and with landscaping and begin to steward a good community stewardship of the neighborhood and community and the community pride. So that's comments I'd like to make.
Just to follow up on that, having met with them about 2 weeks ago, in addition to just the beautification, they've actually started designing an expansion of the gallery to hopefully actually go on the next lot. So that's sort of now in their thinking.
Yeah, thank you. That just for people with some background, there were a couple of vacant, dilapidated houses between the existing occupied houses, and it was that 2 were owned by the city, 1 by a private owner, but it gave the impetus to really move on getting those taken down, removing some of that blight, and then also that opens that lot up, and again with Mo and I forget his wife's name now. I apologize. With
Charlotte.
eyes on that to beautify that lot and really solidify that corner and that part of the neighborhood.
That's great.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Great, the motion carries. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Zainab.
You're welcome.
The next item on the agenda under Development Services is the Bluff 23 Miltonberger. And Brandon and Gordon will be joining us for this one.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon Wilson, and I am a project manager at the URA. Today, I'm requesting that the board accept the proposal and form of contract for the sale of 23 Miltonberger and adjacent lots located at Block 11J, lots 95, 96, and 101 in Pittsburgh's first ward to Epic Development LLC or a related entity for $60,000 plus costs. Next slide, please. The 23 Miltonberger site assemblage contains a mixed-use building as well as empty land currently used for parking. Epic Development intends to restore the existing building, creating a downstairs commercial space that will be used as a food and beverage location, as well as 2 housing units, 1 on each of the 2nd and 3rd floors. In the adjacent vacant parcels, Epic Development will deliver a 3.5 season destination space for food and drinks that will accommodate 3 food truck businesses that have access to communal assets, electric hookups, bathrooms, and patio seating. The space will serve as a business incubator for food and beverage businesses and will host community events. If the board accepts this proposal package, the project will once again come in front of the board for approval of final drawings, evidence of financing, and authorization to execute the deed prior to sale.
Thank you, Brandon. Any questions, comments from the board? No? Okay. So yeah, this is the second time we've seen this, and as Brandon, as you noted, we'll see it one more time before final. So thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Motion approved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The motion carries. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on, Perry South, 2133 Perrysville Avenue. Justin and ML will be joining us for this one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Dalton. I'm the manager of housing development for the URA's affiliate, Pittsburgh Housing Development Corporation. Today, we're asking for permission for proposal, form of contract, final drawings, and final evidence of financing and authorization to execute a deed for the sale of Block 46P, Lot 11, in the 25th Ward to Perry Hilltop Citizens Council for the amount of $20,000 plus cost. Next slide, please. This project consists of a full renovation of a 2-unit apartment building located at 2133 Perrysville Avenue. The project is co-developed by Perry Hilltop Citizens Council and the URA's affiliate Pittsburgh Housing Development Corporation. It consists of 1 apartment to be rented to a household at or below 60% of their area median income, and 1 unit to be rented to a household at or below 80% of AMI. Total project cost come to $425,837 and consist of 86% equity and 14% debt. The equity is comprised of a mix of financing, grant funds from FAIR, DCD, and the Housing Opportunity Fund. That is the result of a financing drive led by Perry Hilltop Citizens Council. This project is also the first phase of a larger cohesive development effort that involves 3 additional structures and 2 additional lots within the same block of Perrysville Avenue. And that comprises 1 of 2 local neighborhood business districts along Perrysville Avenue. We also have Joanna Deming, Executive Director of Perry Hilltop Citizens Council with us. Joanna, if you would like to make a few remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. I am so excited to be here today. I can't tell you how excited I am. One of the 4 buildings, once owned by Perry Hilltop, our subsidiary, are coming back into reuse after over 20 years of URA ownership, mostly resulting in vacancy on a main street in our community. And this has happened this renovation thanks to our partnership with the URA and PHDC. We're especially grateful to Justin Belton, Jen Schraber, David Howe, and Richard Snite for their support and helping to make this happen. We can't wait to build on the success in the future, developing the remaining 3 mixed-use buildings in this area, which is an extension of the Perrysville South Avenues of Hope. Today, I'm asking the URA Board to support the sale of this building back to the community, back to Perry Hilltop Citizens Council. This will allow us to provide 2 new affordable apartments to our neighbors on our main street. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Joanna. Did you have anything else, Dustin? I'm sorry.
No, just saying thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
No, I just want to congratulate Perry Hilltop Citizens Council as well as the PHDC on the creativity of figuring this one out and co-developing. Motion.
Agreed.
Motion.
Sam, you came off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sam, you came off mute too. I don't know if you had some.
I was only going to second the councilman's motion.
Wonderful.
It's just great to see moving along.
Yeah. All right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second, I guess, if not unconventionally. With that, though, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? It's great. The motion carries. Thank you, Justin. And as a former PHDC board member, thank you to the PHDC team. And Joanna, congratulations to you and the group. I know it's one that you highlighted when we were touring the neighborhood last Friday. And I know the phase properties have been ones the neighborhood's been trying to solve for a long time. So this is incredibly exciting. Congratulations, really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your support.
Moving on, we're going into business solutions for the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund Grant Awards.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jamie Petrosky. I'm a Neighborhood Business District Program Analyst and the manager of the Neighborhood Initiatives Fund Program. So we're requesting authorization to enter into NIF grant agreements and related contracts with the following organizations and their respective amounts. The first is the Community Empowerment Association in the amount of $100,000. One of their project renderings you can see in the bottom right on the left-hand side for a community plaza project. The Larimer Consensus Group in the amount of $63,040 for the LA grocery store expansion. Their renderings are on the top left-hand side and the first horizontal photo on the right-hand side there. The Hazelwood Initiative for $70,000 for their project building community at 2nd Avenue and Tecumseh Street in Hazelwood. I do not have any renderings of that one. The Progress Fund, in an amount of $100,000 for the Hazelwood Brewery. Their rendering is down on the bottom left. The Afro-American Music Institute in the amount of $60,000 for expansion phase 2 of their facility. The Pittsburgh Glass Center in the amount of $50,000 for expansion of their facility. And the Brighton Heights Citizens, the Pittsburgh Glass Center's rendering is that middle horizontal picture there on the right-hand side. And lastly, the Brighton Heights Citizens Federation in the amount of $84,305 for the St. John Green site in Brighton Heights. Next slide, please. So since Neighborhood Initiatives Fund inception in 2019, we have been able to award over $2 million in NIF funds over the course of 37 projects impacting 26 neighborhoods across the city of Pittsburgh. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this round's awardees.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions, comments from the board?
I do have a question. Looks like we're funding some really impactful projects. I'm wondering, the folks who have applied and potentially have applied numerous times and have not received funding through NIF, if there would be an opportunity for those applicants to discuss with individuals at the URA so that they can improve and strengthen their applications for the future.
Yes, absolutely, Ms. Innamorato. And when all of the letters go out and during our info sessions, we do offer that. We don't do so much technical assistance during the program, during the application process, because we don't want to treat anybody any differently than any other application, but certainly after the applications go through, I am always happy to sit with folks and see where things could have been improved. And frankly, this time around, as it was incredibly competitive with a budget of $500,000 and asks in $3.2 million. And in talking with my team as well, we are hoping to do some grant writing workshops, especially for the smaller organizations who may be volunteer-based or just not used to doing these kinds of things. So we are certainly looking to expand how we can fund more folks.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Of course.
Jamie, similar to Representative Morales' question, I was curious kind of the support for those that we aren't awarding. You spoke to that. I mean, are we also, maybe if they're too early in the process, or even if their project's kind of further along, right, than what makes sense for NIF, are we identifying or recommending to them, other opportunities that are out there, whether they're through the URA or, another public agency, or private funder for that matter, to just help them get their projects either started for those that are too early or over the finish line for maybe those that are close to the end?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, and in my short time here, I've only been here since January, but that I don't want to say it was a problem with the applications, but there were folks who weren't quite ready because they didn't have their financing in place or their matching funds in place. CDBG is how some of these projects are going to be funded. And there are a lot of restrictions with CDBG that unfortunately there were projects that we just could not do because of those restrictions. So I do always refer folks to our other URA lending products. We encourage folks to apply for other rounds. And of course, as other grant opportunities come up, other grant opportunities, so like Keystone Communities, at any state level grant, just anything that comes past my inbox, I always share.
Great. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? With that, then I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Great, the motion carries. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
And the rest of the team that worked on this. I know there was a lot of folks involved, so it's exciting to see these move forward. Next on the agenda, we have the redevelopment assistance capital program grants, and then also the RCAP grants with previous awards, if we want to take these together. Maybe.
Hello, I'm Damar Carter. I'm the Director of Finance. We were recently awarded 23 RACPs in 18 city neighborhoods, totaling around $38,600,000 of state funding. 19 projects have been awarded, and 4 previously awarded are now going to the board action to amend and increase their totals. You can go to the next slide, Daniel. All of the grant awards are shown in the next slide, so you can read them there. I'm coming today to get authorization to enter into contracts with the State Budget Office for redevelopment assisted capital program grants, sub-grant agreements for the RACP grants with grantees, and the contract for administration fees. Also, cooperation agreements with the City of Pittsburgh concerning the application and grants, and amendments for the 4 previously approved awards. Out of one of the awards that was awarded, the City of Pittsburgh is requesting that the Pittsburgh Warrington Recreation Center item on this agenda for $1 million now be combined with a previously $500,000 award, We would like to amend Resolution 156, 157, and 158 from 2021 to increase from 500,000 to now 1.5 million. I have Anita Stack on the phone on the line as well, who can answer any questions.
Thank you, Tamara.
You're welcome.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board on these? I get Tamara or Anita, just for sort of clarification purposes in terms of the URA's role as it relates, to the RCAP process, could be beneficial for folks, and that we aren't actually applying, but a pass through. If we can kind of speak to that in a little more detail.
I'll let Anita explain the whole process.
Thanks.
Okay. Yes, we are a pass through for these funds. The state has a process that they go through annually where they ask people to submit an online application if they have a legislative authorization available to them. They go through a competitive process to approve those projects. Any projects that are awarded within the city of Pittsburgh basically come to the URA as the grantee, even though we have not yet specifically applied for those funds. Oftentimes it's done at a different level with the sub-grantee doing it directly. The URA does, however, apply for some projects that are city or URA owned. And we have, we do occasionally get those awarded as well, but the majority of these are for other projects that are not owned by either the city or the URA.
Thank you, Anita. Any further questions, comments on this item or these items? There's several.
So just one. We don't have a slide that actually identifies the specific RCAP recipients.
No, that was actually in the board agenda item that was sent around to all the.
Yes, I have that, but just in terms of public visibility, I think it's nice if we show the public like the 20 recipients that are actually going to get this money.
Do you want us to just list them quickly?
I think that'd be nice. Yeah. I mean, we're
okay. Tomorrow I can do
that. Basically, on behalf of the state, we're awarding tens of millions of dollars. And even though we don't have the ability to sort of line item change them, I think it's helpful for the public to know where the money's going.
And then to add on to Sam, I think in the past we used to do that, to have at least on our website all the RCAP grantees. So to add on to Sam's point, just so that it's visible and daylighted where the pass-through money is going, I think that would be helpful as well.
Okay, I'll read the list very quickly, as quickly as I can. 2400 East Carson Street redevelopment to RACP for $1 million. WAG4 Limited Partnership is the sub-grantee. Allegheny YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh is getting $500,000 for a project. Astrobotic Capital Expansion Phase 2 is getting $2 million. Bairdstown Revitalization is getting $1 million, and that's McKnight Bairdstown LLC. Center Avenue Avenues of Hope Site Preparation and Development is getting $1 million. Currently, the URA is the direct recipient of this one, but we may be working with some sub-grantees at some later time. Center Helpman is getting $500,000 in RACP funds that we're working with Salims to receive those funds. City's Edge is getting 1.5 million in RACP funds. Midpoint Group of Companies, Inc. is the sub-grantee. Community Kitchen Pittsburgh Property Acquisition and Renovations is getting $1,350,000. So that's the Community Kitchen Pittsburgh is the sub-grantee. Constructing Sustainability at Phipps, Restoring and Greening a Community Asset is getting $1 million. That's Phipps Conservatory and Botanical Gardens as the sub-grantee. Esplanade Pittsburgh is getting $10 million in RACP funds, and they are the limited partnership. Hilltop Community Center is getting $1 million, and Brashear Association is the subgrantee. Leamington Technology Park 3 is getting $500,000, and Icon Development Pittsburgh LLC is the subgrantee. PCHS Homewood Medical Complex is getting $750,000, and it's through Primary Care Health Services, Inc. Pittsburgh Ballet Theater Campus Improvements is getting $1 million, and that's the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater. Pittsburgh First Division Street Maintenance Facility relocation is getting $500,000. City of Pittsburgh is the subgrantee. Pittsburgh Sheridan Park Rehabilitation is getting $500,000. And again, the City of Pittsburgh is the subgrantee. Pittsburgh Warrenton Rec Center is getting $1.5 million. That's one that we are combining with a previous award, and City of Pittsburgh is also the subgrantee on that. The Friendship Circle of Pittsburgh, 1926 Murray Avenue is getting $1 million, and it's the Friendship Circle of Pittsburgh, Inc. is the subgrantee. Veterans Place Housing Upgrade and Expansion is getting $2 million, and that's Veterans Place of Washington Boulevard as the subgrantee. West Penn Hospital Comprehensive Women's Health Facility is getting $3 million, and that's Allegheny Health Network as the subgrantee. 1501 Penn Avenue redevelopment is getting $2 million. That's a combined award for that we combined a previous award, and 1501 Penn Avenue LLC is the subgrantee. Three Crossings Phase 2 is getting a total of $1.5 million. That's a combined application that had received previous funds. Three Crossing 2.0 LP is the entity. Duquesne University College of Osteopathic Medicine 2 is getting $4 million. That's again as a combined application that had received a previous award, and that's Duquesne University is the subgrantee. Keeping in mind that these awards require matching funds, so all of those amounts you can at a minimum double. So while we're receiving $38.6 million in RECP state funds, they will need to at least match that with another $38.6 million in other funds, private, foundation, whatever it might be.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank you, Anita.
I just want to note that some of these awards, although not all of them, some of them, depending on the type and size of the building, will trigger the URA's and the city's prevailing wage policy for the service workers in those buildings. I think it probably would be helpful for staff, both for the board and for the developers, to identify which projects those are. Folks may recall that when the URA adopted that policy 4 years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, the Governor Wolf at the time had wrote to the board supporting the application of our prevailing wage policy, which is intended to ensure that our public investment of our investment of public dollars actually creates good jobs, not just for construction workers, but for all workers on a development. The governor sent us a letter saying supporting the application of that policy specifically to RCAP dollars as well. And so our policy includes RCAP dollars, and we should make sure that the developers know that. And I think it would be helpful for the board to identify which of those projects actually are going to see the creation of good jobs as well.
Thanks, Sam. I think that his request that makes sense. So it would be good for us to understand that from staff once you have a chance to get into this and these move through the process, just so that we can make sure we're communicating clearly to these applicants, the developers, what the requirements are kind of on every aspect of the funds, and they have that understanding getting into everything. So.
Yeah, it's clearly kind of hard for developers or employers to comply with our policies if we don't tell them what they are.
That's right. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I would just also add that as a state representative, if folks are listening and they're interested in applying for this program, please make sure that you're notifying your state representative, your state senator, because this is, like what was said previously, is funding that comes from the state. So that's really where you can start to create, make sure that people know about the project that you're working on.
Yeah, and Representative Amrad, to that point, there's an open round right now. So for folks that are interested or do want to pursue it, you know, it's something that is active at the moment. So would encourage anyone who thinks their project could fit into this to do exactly what the representative just outlined. I'm sorry, Anita, you would raise your hand. Was there something you wanted to add?
No, you said exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Nope, that's perfect.
Good deal. All right, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Damar.
Thank you.
Lastly, then, the disclosures agenda. Any comments or questions from the board on any item on the disclosures agenda? Okay. That entertain a motion to approve in its entirety.
So
Motion
moved.
in the disclosure agenda in its entirety.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Okay. With that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Seconded.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Take care.